Hey YouTube, Kevin Cleary with a knife video for you. Today I want to talk about knives that nailed it. And what I mean by that is knives that, the designers and the companies that made them, lightning just struck and they came up with something genius that is, exceptionally well done. A lot of the knives that I'm going to share with you are extremely popular. Some of them you would kind of consider standard or classic models. I do have some knives on the list that I don't have anymore. You have to forgive me for not being able to show you every single knife that I'm going to mention. But before I get into the knives that I want to talk about, what I'd like to have you do in the comments below is share knives that you feel like have nailed it, where they're just phenomenal blades. They've done everything kind of just right. Especially knives, and I'm sure there's going to be some glaring oversights on my part. I'm going to try to talk about most of the ones that I think of as just sort of, extremely good. And I hope you'll do the same thing in the comments below. And maybe, we'll both learn from some things from each other. So let me start off with a knife that maybe defines what I mean by this in this video, and that is the Rat Model 1. Okay, this is a knife that has been around for a while, but is widely recognized for its toughness, for its durability, for being fairly cost effective, and yet being unbelievably capable and reliable as a folder, either EDC or outdoors, or even a sort of combat folder. So the Rat 1 is just one of those knives that, in terms of performance and value and durability and how long it's going to last and all those things, just really stands out. Okay, and so this is the kind of knife that I'm talking about. And I've got a few blades here that I really think fit this category. Most of these I think you'll be familiar with if you're at all into knives. Some of them you maybe won't be, because they're knives that I only from my own use have said, hey, this is spectacular. But a lot of these I think are fairly well known to you. Let's start off with another knife that I feel like really is a standard in terms of performance, toughness, size and weight, and even cost, and that is the Cold Steel Recon 1. When you talk about tactical knives, when you talk about combat knives that you would carry if you were a soldier or if you were a police officer, a knife that may have to defend your life, okay, you are hard-pressed to find a better option than the Cold Steel Recon 1, and it's not that expensive. Other knives that are kind of in this market you can go honestly as high as you want. And I'm not saying they're not great knives, but a lot of them are not going to actually do the job better than this. And so this, for me, in my collection, has become a standard. Now, you guys might recognize that this is different than the clip point that I had, the spear point that I've had for a long time. This is the clip point version in CTS XHP, but to me, this is a standard knife, and it's kind of a comparison model for me. When someone markets a combat folder, a tactical folder, I always ask, is it better than the Recon 1? Okay, and so this is a knife that I think really Cold Steel has nailed it. Now, I know this is sort of the third iteration. There was one that had had a piston lock, and then there was the AUS 8 version, and now there's this one with the CTS XHP. This knife, I think, is one that, it's big, it's not too heavy, only 5.5 ounces. It's reasonably affordable, around $100. And at that price point, you're hard-pressed to find another knife that would categorically beat it. Okay, now sticking with Cold Steel, I've got another knife for you. This is the American Lawman. You guys know about how much I love this knife. I've talked about it. I did a whole series just comparing this knife to others. I think I'm pretty well done that. There may be some. I'll go back through the comments and make sure that I didn't miss a request for a comparison that I didn't do. But again, this is a knife. Now, I would say this is probably more of an EDC knife than a combat knife, even though it is the American Lawman. And I will say this would, any knife really could do the job, and this would do better than a lot of knives because you do have that deep choil and a very grippy G10 pattern. But again, this is a knife that I think in ergonomics, in size, in weight, in blade steel, in a whole bunch of categories, really just nails it in terms of quality and performance. This is a knife that's really well done, and it'll just do what you need it to do, okay? We could probably give honorable mention, as we talk about cold steel, to the Voyager series of knives. They're all pretty good knives. Now they're in a better steel than they were before, and I can't really complain. Now, let me throw a different knife into the works. This is the Spyderco Gale Bradley 2. I don't know why I failed so badly to deploy it there, but there we go. Spyderco Gale Bradley 2. Now, why do I put this one on the list? Because I feel like this is a knife that really walks nearly a perfect tightrope in terms of size, weight, ability, grind, blade length. Like, everything is pretty well the way you want it. And even cost. If you look at Taichung made Spydercos, they normally charge a premium, and rightly so. They're extremely well made. This one is extremely well made, but you can pick one of these up for, I think, around 130, 100, maybe even 129. I think that's a recent price that I saw. So great knife for what it is. And this is the other thing that impresses me about this knife is the sort of balance that it strikes, okay? This is a knife that can be a gentleman's folder, it can be a utility folder, it could flex a little bit into, a combat role. There is jimping that does work. I wouldn't say it excels at that, but again, this is a knife where I just feel like all the various components came together in a way that just offers an exceptional blade. Now, before I show you the other Spyderco that I've got, I think we need to mention a very key knife, and that is the Endura Delica pairing. Those two knives are wildly popular. Tons of people use them. Tons of people love them. If you prefer a larger knife, obviously you like the Endura. If you like a smaller knife, you're going to like the Delica. I don't have an Endura in my collection right now, but I do have a Pacific Salt, and I do have, I guess I do have an Endura. It's the titanium Endura with Damascus. I just didn't have it with me today. So those knives I think deserve honorable mention as just an outstanding design. Just consider that the amount of time they have been around. They've been around like 20 years and are still in Spyderco's lineup. Now, here's the Spyderco everyone was waiting for me to talk about, I'm sure, and that is the Paramilitary 2. I think when this knife was designed, it perfectly embodies what I'm talking about here, guys. This knife is just amazing, okay? It's lightweight, it's extremely functional, it's comfortable, it's easy to carry, it's well built, it can flex into multiple different roles, whether it be EDC or utility or combat or whatever, personal defense, all kinds of things. So again, this is a knife that I feel like they really nailed it with this design. All right, I've got, where is it? Guys, give me 1 second. I'm going to slide off camera here very briefly and get back over to you. There we go. The next knife I want to talk about, sorry about that little kind of intermission there. This knife, the Boker Kwaiken, is a knife that, whoever decided to do this collaboration at Boker, they deserve a raise, because this knife has been insanely popular, okay? And rightly so. It is such a cool looking knife. This one I did anodize myself, and it worked out really well. But I am so pleased with this knife. It's just extremely well done, and they're still offering it in different, even this year. This knife has been out for probably 4 or 5 years, and this year they're still offering another model. I think they've offered a smaller model, and they've called it the Boker Kwaiken Tuxedo, right? Wildly popular. So Lucas Burnley, who designed this knife, well done. And Boker for thinking, hey, let's make a production version that people can afford easily. Just what a great addition to, the knife industry as a whole. Really gorgeous knife, really functional, easy to carry, highly customizable. So for all those reasons, this was one of those knives where, although we could take some things away from it, that it's not a tactical blade, and yeah, you could maybe slip up onto the, you know what I mean? It's definitely a gentleman's folder, But just the sheer popularity alone of this knife, I think, means that it needs to be in this video. So Boker Kwaiken. All right, I want to talk about CRKT. They've had some great knives. I think a couple that kind of deserve mention are the Fossil from 2014, I guess. Great design. No wonder Flavio Acoma has been so popular for the last little while. What a cool knife. But also the Drifter. The CRKT Drifter is, you know, one of those knives that you can pick up for dirt cheap. It's going to be highly functional, highly reliable, and there are many others. Now, CRKT does have a lot of models out there, okay, so I'm sure I'm forgetting some great ones, and go ahead and comment below with those. I don't have any with me. Only one SOG is going to make the list, and I got to say I have mixed feelings about putting it on, but it's so popular that I think it should be mentioned. The SOG Flash series, they are very, very functional light EDC knives and extremely popular. People like them because they're fast, because they're lightweight, and I totally get it. You know, this is a great knife if you're jogging, if you're going to the gym, something where you're wearing like light clothing. Great option because it's so lightweight and it's gonna do a lot, okay? Would I consider this a hard use knife? Would I consider it a combat knife? No, not really, but it is a very popular and very cool knife that I've got to say I appreciate, even though I have my issues, which you're all aware of with this lock, that should never be put on any knife at all. Okay, so there you go. That's the one SOG that makes the list. There are other SOGs. The SOG Vulcan, the SOG Pentagon Elite is sort of a classic standard model from SOG. Neither of those I have, but I think they do deserve mention for sure. A more recent offering I've got to share with you, the Real Steel H6. This knife, again, it's like lightning struck, okay? It's almost perfect ergonomics. The blade steel is great. The blade shape is phenomenal. I love this finger choil at the front. You know, this is just a really, really good knife, and it's certainly one of those knives, again, where if someone just, you know, commented on a video and said, Kevin, I just want a really good, really high quality, budget-friendly knife. What can you recommend for me? You know, this would be on the list. Yes, the Rat one would be on there too. Yes, the American Lawman would be on there too. But this is just a great knife, kind of no matter how you slice it, whether you say a great knife for the money or just a great knife. Really, really like the Real Steel H6. Now, I think we need to mention the Microtech SOCOM. Okay, I don't have one with me. It's been on my list to add to my collection for a long time, guys. And in fact, if someone's out there with a Microtech SOCOM Delta in G10 and non-serrated, please message me, okay? I do plan to get a Delta or an Elite and maybe someday both, but it's a very popular knife. It's extremely well made. Still, after a number of years past its release, it's still out there. People still love it. Okay, and while we're talking about knives that we don't have here, I'm going to talk about another knife first. Zero Tolerance 0560. This knife, I've got to say, there's a video from Darkchild who considers this to be the best production knife. And, you know, I don't know that I could make that call with as much confidence as he can. There are many, many production knives that I'm absolutely in love with. But this is a knife that every time I pick it up, every time I grip it to cut something, every time I put it in my pocket, I think, what a well done knife. Okay, yeah, they're a little heavy, but look at the size of it, okay? And think of what you're getting. It's a full titanium frame lock. And so I'm not going to complain really about the weight on this. And I'll be honest, I carry this a lot, and it's not that I'm carrying around thinking, oh, what a heavy knife. I feel like I'm going to tip over or something. No, I think this is an exceptionally, exceptionally well done blade. Possibly the best zero tolerance that is available. Okay, I just think, you know, if you're going to buy one zero tolerance, this is pretty well it as far as I'm concerned. All right. So when we talk about, you know, a knife that just really gets it right, I think this one deserves to be on the list. Now, while I'm talking about that, let me say two more knives that I don't have. This knife obviously reminds me of it, and that is the XM18. Great knife. Obviously, it's very expensive. And the Sebenza, specifically the Sebenza 25 for me. Now, I know there's a lot of 21 lovers out there, and I'm sure that 21 is a great knife. I haven't had one, but I mean, I haven't owned one, but I have had one in hand. And to me, the 25 is just an upgrade, okay? I like the fact that it's just a little more heavy duty. I like the fact that the blade grind is just a little thicker. So for me, the 25 is a knife that, again, lightning just kind of struck. It just lands in this perfect sweet spot, the Goldilocks zone, if you will, of knives, and it is really, really well done. We're not done yet. I want to talk about Benchmade. I don't have any Benchmades here. But Benchmade, the Benchmade 710, the Benchmade Griptilian, the Benchmade 940, I think all of those are classics. They're iconic. They're knives that if you're a serious collector and you don't have one, or at least have owned one, you're kind of missing out. Out of those, my favorite is definitely the 710. But again, I just think those are knives that are phenomenal. Now, there are other Benchmades guys that are really, really great, that are really, really popular. I would probably mention the Bradley Alias, which is made by Benchmade. I've never owned one. I've tried to get one a couple of times and the deal didn't work out. But the Bradley Alias, I think, needs to be mentioned in this video. Let me get two more knives here. One I have, one I don't have. Oh, three more knives. Sorry, guys. This knife, the Kershaw Blur, is ridiculously popular. Okay? Everyone loves this knife. In fact, there are knife collectors who only collect Kershaw Blurs. Okay, great knife, size, weight, blade shape, all kinds of things are just really well done. And this was a knife, you know, when Ken Onion and Kershaw got together and did this, they really did a great job. Now, often people have complained about the clip. I think that's a legitimate complaint. This clip kind of stinks. But otherwise, this knife, it's no wonder that it is as popular as it is. It's just a really, really well done blade. Now, I need to add to that the Kershaw Knockout, which I don't have anymore. Again, a great knife and truly deserves to be recognized as sort of a classic knife. Now, I want to end with a knife that may be a bit of a surprise to some. This is the Liang Ma Remedy. This is built by Riyat Knives, designed by Liang Ma, but this is a knife literally every time I feel it in hand. Now, I will say my little complaint is not the ergonomics on the pocket clip. I had someone mention, hey, the pocket clip creates a hot spot. I don't know, guys. For me, when I hold this like this, I literally cannot tell that it even has a pocket clip. I find it really, really comfortable. The pocket clip, when my hand bends, you see how it makes that kind of fold? The pocket clip sort of lands right in there, and so I don't even notice it. This knife, in terms of high-end, you know, blades, this one is, to me, exceptional because of the 3D machined G10. I mean, titanium. Because of the feel of the titanium, there are these lines milled into it from the milling itself, and they've just left them there. This knife is fantastic. It's full tie, and yet it's light enough that you don't think it's way lighter than the ZT that I just told you about. This is a knife where I just think everything came together, and the designer and the maker and everybody just got it right. So there you go, guys. I'm pretty sure that's everything on my list. I'm sure that I've forgotten something, guys, and I'm sure the very first comment will be like, Kevin, you didn't even mention fill in the blank, okay? That's not on purpose, and I'll probably say when you make that comment, hey, I love that knife. Spyderco Tenacious. There you go. Perfect example. I don't think I mentioned the Tenacious, but what a great knife. I've had two of them. I definitely love them. And I love the whole line. I haven't tried a Resilience. That's the only one, and I need to pick one up, and I will one of these days. So there you go, guys. Those are the knives that I kind of just feel like lightning just struck, and everything fell into place to create a knife that is just beyond great. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. And as I said, comment below with knives that you feel like belong in this list. We'll talk to you soon.